Welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of October 23rd, 2023. In accordance with LB 898, please be advised that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted at the back of the chamber by the northwest door. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief period of silent meditation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The order of business of the city is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item should come forward after the clerk reads that item. The council shall require any member of the public desiring to address the council to identify themselves, the name of an organization or group, including an address that you may be representing, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. The applicant may then make one short rebuttal. Each speaker should begin by stating their name, address, organization or group, and whether you are speaking in favor of or in opposition to the item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date nor planned for a future agenda. Madam Clerk, will you please call our first item of business?
First item of business for today's meeting on Monday, October 23rd, 2023 is also a reminder to those that are here to testify that clerks will use the light system to help you aid your timing for your testimony. The lights will appear on the monitors provided here at both podiums. Both podiums are available for testimony as well. If there are if you don't have any other questions or council doesn't have any other questions, you can go and return to your seat. The green light will indicate the start time for your testimony. Yellow light will be 1 minute remaining, and the red will be for your stop time. Our next portion of the agenda is the consent agenda, sections 1, 2, and 3.
Is there anyone else, or excuse me, is there anyone here to speak on items 1, 2, or 3? Anyone here to speak on the consent agenda? Any item listed under section 1, section 2, or section 3? Mr. Christie, would you like to speak on one of these items?
I would. I'm looking and I'm pausing because it's my understanding that I'm here on 1B, appointing Rob Ott, still call him Judge Ott, to the Charter Revision Commission. And I'm pausing because I thought that he was coming today. But if I may,
Please do.
it is still my honor and privilege to introduce Judge Ott to you. He was appointed to the Lancaster County District Court bench in 2008. He served on the bench from 2008 to 2022. And he retired from the bench, and he's still working. I think he is working as general counsel at a local company. Prior to being appointed to the bench, he was in private practice from, I think, 1981 until his appointment in 2008. I know that he's been involved in several committees. I know that he was specifically with the District Court Judges Associations and the Nebraska Supreme Court. I know he's been involved in other nonprofit boards in the community. I know that he is chair-elect of the House of Delegates for the Nebraska State Bar Association. I know that he was heavily involved in Inns of Court at one point in time, which Inns of Court it's an organization with judges, lawyers, and students of the law. They work to pursue the highest goals of the legal profession, civility, ethics, and he was a strong voice in that committee as well. Few more things. While on the bench, I would just tell you that he was well-liked, well-respected, and he was always an example of what we want and need the legal profession to look like. He also served as a mentor, both officially and unofficially, for several young lawyers, and I'm sure judges as well. I certainly appreciated appearing in front of him. I appeared in front of him several times as a lawyer. He served with dignity, integrity, and he is someone who has the utmost respect from all of his colleagues. And I'm honored and grateful that he has agreed to serve on the Charter Revision Commission. So we'd ask for your support.
Very good.
And
Thank you. I don't see Judge Ott.
Okay.
He has not appeared since
Okay.
you've been speaking.
All right.
We did receive his information from Mayor's office, so we do have outlined here, and I know some of us know Judge Ott directly as well. So, any questions for Mr. Christie at this point in time?
He's probably out golfing instead of in here. Too nice.
I think I'm told he's on his way, but
Okay.
so
Well, we just may move forward, so that's
Okay.
okay. Thank you very much.
I'd be happy to try to answer any questions on his behalf if you have.
I think we're good.
Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on anything on the consent agenda? Those are listed under items 1, 2, or 3. All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, let's go through the consent.
We can vote on these items. Item 1A is reappointing John Spatz to the Charter Revision Commission for a term to expire July 15th of 2027, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1B is appointing Robert Ott to the Charter Revision Commission for a term to expire July 15th, 2027, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion. All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1C is approving a professional services agreement supplement number 1 for preliminary engineering services between the City of Lincoln and Alfred Benish and Company for the Cotner Boulevard, Adams Street intersection project, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Schob.
Yes.
Duden.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1D is approving the professional services agreement supplement number 3 for preliminary engineering services between the City and Kirkham Michael and Associates for the 56th Street from Spruce to Van Dorn project, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Carlson.
Yes.
Schob.
Yes.
Duden.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1E is investment activity report for quarter ending August 31st, 2023, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Weber, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Schob.
Yes.
Duden.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1F is setting the Board of Equalization hearing date of Monday, November 20th, 2023 at 5:30 PM on the assessment for the Downtown Management BID, Downtown Management Core Overlay District, Downtown Maintenance District, and West Haymarket Maintenance District, introduced by Bowers.
So moved. Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Duden.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Schob.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Items 2A through 2H were introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Washington, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Schob.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Duden.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Before we move on to section 4, I would just like to thank Judge Ott here, who has arrived. Thank you, sir, for your service and your willingness to serve. If you'd like to come up and speak very briefly, you're more than welcome to do so.
Yay. Well, I'm not sure I really have anything to say except I'm sorry for being late. You know, Bear Grylls, who a lot of people know, and my grandmother used to say, if you're 5 minutes early, you're 5 minutes late. I can tell you, I'm not sure I've ever been late for a meeting in front of a body like this, so my apologies, but thank you for the nomination and for allowing me to serve. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much for your service, Judge.
Thank you all.
Very much. Thank you.
to serve. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and move on to section 4.
Okay, Section 4 is our public hearing liquor resolutions. I'll call items 4A and 4B together. Application of Sunshine and Whiskey LLC, doing business as the Garage Sports Bar and Grill for a Class C liquor license located at 5551 South 48th Street, and the related manager application of Barbara L. Johnson.
Is there anyone here to speak on items 4A and 4B? Please come on down. Welcome. If you could just start with your name and address, please. And you can speak from either side, it doesn't matter.
I'm Barbara Johnson, 6131 Fleetwood Drive, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Very good.
Chelsea Johnson, 3911 San Mateo Lane, Lincoln, Nebraska, 68516.
All right, very good. Could you tell us a little bit about the application?
We're applying for application for liquor license for the garage. We just purchased it a month and a half ago.
Oh, very good, very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any questions that we have for our applicant? Yes, Mr. Shob.
Thank you much. May I start over?
Yes, Councilman Shob.
Thank you.
I apologize for
No,
not.
you're fine there. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Ladies Johnson, thanks for coming down. Tell us, you just purchased it. Are there going to be major changes? And what time do you open?
No major changes to start with. We are expanding the menu. We will continue with live entertainment, including bands on Fridays and trivia Tuesdays. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.
All
Chair.
right, very good. Any other questions? Trivia continues on Tuesday.
Tuesdays, yes.
All right.
An expanded
Yes,
menu.
Councilman.
Any name changes to the business?
No.
Okay.
We do own the Watering Hole West also, so we will be moving the wings over there sometime. And-
Ah.
Will they be flying?
Huh?
Will they be flying?
Are we flying? Yeah.
Well, you buried the lead about moving the wings.
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
It'll be a bit. It'll
I
be a
don't know
bit.
anything about your business, but I know your wings. And
Yeah.
okay, very good.
Come see us. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank you.
ladies. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 4A and 4B? Okay, let's move on to 4C and D.
Items for C and D, application of MCO LLC, doing business as the Mercado for a Class D liquor license located at 8601 South 30th Street, Suite 109, and the related manager application of Krista L. Hotmeyer.
Is there anyone here to speak on items 4C and 4D? Welcome. Back again.
Welcome back.
Second week in a row. Alex Essay, 7110 Southampton Road. We're applying, MCO, I'm here on behalf of MCO, applying for a Class D liquor license for our second Mercado. For those of you not familiar with it, it's a butcher shop and retail store. And we're looking forward to your consideration here and happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions for the applicant? Yes, Councilwoman.
Has anything changed since your last application? Besides the location of the,
Just the location.
okay?
All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you coming down. Anyone else here who would like to testify on items 4C or 4D? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to 4E.
Item 4E is manager application of Kevin M. Ames for Grandmothers, Inc., doing business as Donna Millie's, located at 8150 O Street and 5200 South 56th Street.
Is there anyone here to speak on items 4E? Hello, welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Ames, 5310 South 84th Street, Omaha, Nebraska. I'm the newly appointed president for Donna Millie's, replacing the retiring owners. So,
Okay, very good. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none. Thanks for coming down. We appreciate it very much.
Continuing.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 4E? Anyone else for 4E? Okay, seeing none.
Mr. Chair, seeing no one coming forward for item 4E or any of the other items, I'd like to move approval of item 4A through 4E.
I second it.
Second, Duden. Comments? Please call the roll.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. You're good.
Next is Section 5, our public hearing resolutions. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for September 16th through September 30th, 2023.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 5A? Anyone here to speak on item 5A, new and pending claims? Okay, moving on. Let's move on to 5B.
Item 5B is assessing public health nuisance abatement costs associated with the clearing of public nuisances by the Health Department on the following benefited properties: 240 North 31st Street, 1035 North 40th Street, 1821 C Street, 2401 North Chester Street, 450 South 25th Street, 825 C Street, 3201 W Street, 3070 Vine Street, 2313 Orchard Street, 1511 South 2nd Street, 111 South 29th Street, 1518 C Street, 2700 North 41st Street, 826 H Street, 1707 North 23rd Street, 6713 Ballard Ave, 520 South 27th Street, 417 North 24th Street, 226 South 27th Street, 4427 Madison Street, 706 Old Cheney Road, 2922 Apple Street, and 4918 Madison Ave.
Brock, welcome.
All right. Good evening. My name is Brock Hanisch. I'm the manager of the Environmental Public Health Division at the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department. I'm here today to present assessment costs for nuisance abatements which took place this year. The Health Department is responsible for protecting and promoting the public's health, and as part of that role, investigating nuisance complaints come into that purview. Each year we receive close to 1,500 complaints that we investigate, and we abate. Well, this last year we abated 28 of those complaints. The vast majority of these complaints we work with the public to address in a timely and coordinated fashion. But these that we have before us today, they did not pay those abatement costs. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions for Brock at this time? Oh, yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have in years past when we've had these come in for clearance, occasionally someone takes care of it before they get here. And I'm wondering if anybody came forward since this was posted publicly.
Yes, there was one that came forward. That was the 1821 C Street, which we have on the agenda, but they have come forward and paid their abatement fees.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Chairman?
Yes.
What's the total cost for all of this right here?
Each cost is going to be dependent upon the whatever's abated on the property. So we have a contractor, the city has a contractor that we utilize that comes out and performs the abatements, and then they give us that bill. There's also an administrative fee that's added on there as well. So if a property, for instance, had 100 tires that got abated, that's going to be quite different than a pile of garbage, per se. So.
But you don't have a total cost for this group?
Oh, total together, I don't have that number, but separately, they're per item, per property. Yeah.
It looks like, Brock, we have a range per property of about $300, and I think our highest is just under $4,100.
Correct. Yep.
Vine Street here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have a combined total.
Can you talk about the one at 3070 Vine Street?
Yes. So that particular property, we reached out to that individual on numerous occasions, and it did not get addressed. So when we went in, 370, there was a trailer. There were numerous pickup box trailers full of garbage, junk and debris. That was one of the largest I've been on, and that's kind of correlates with the fee. I'm guessing that you're seeing there.
Substantial.
Yeah, I was gonna pull out the file here and get you some imagery if you're interested. Yeah, that was interesting.
How much time do they have to clean up the property?
So depending upon what code dictates and what the allegations or the identified issues are in the property, they are notified on numerous occasions in a letter on the date. But if we're working with them, if the property owner is working with us to address it, we'll work with them. We're there to educate, let them know what the issue is. So here's a picture of the front yard. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Here we have there are multiple trailers. This was clothing and appliances. Then when we get into the backyard, the fence had fallen down, which then gave us access. And we see that these are pickup box trailers, numerous, and vehicles that are full of bags of garbage. There's indoor furniture, clothing that had been left in the elements for a substantial amount of time. Refrigerators, you can see a number of white metal goods. That's what they refer to these appliances as. So it was it took quite a while, and then back to the cost, depending upon the number of staff and the time that it takes, and the gate fees, tipping fees at the landfill. And if there were tires or appliances in there, that too is going to be an additional fee in there. So
You have to use a bulldozer?
this one we used numerous waste hauler trucks of various kinds. Yeah, it took quite a while.
All done?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman?
I'm learning about this, so I wanted to ask a few more questions about what
Absolutely,
came up.
absolutely. Councilwoman?
I just have one more question. I noticed that in this array that we have this year, and I'm sure it's been in the past, your inspection costs vary. And I was just curious, is that when you give someone a chance to clean it up and you come back out and have to re-inspect? Is that why they vary?
Well, that would be based on the number of inspections that staff go out on. So that's really on our end going to be the only fee that's going to vary substantially. But the administrative costs are relatively set. But then the big change or the big cost here is what we'd see right here. We had 3 staff visits that were logged, so that price, supervisory time. But then we see to the actual hauler fee as the bulk of that, just $3,800. So,
Thank you.
yep.
No more questions.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. Any other questions for Brock on this or any other item under 4B? Okay, see none. Thank you, sir.
All right.
We appreciate
Thank you
it.
all. Yep.
Is there anyone else here who would like to testify on item 4B? Or excuse me, 5B, I apologize. Is there anyone here who would like to testify on item 5B, assessing public nuisance abatement costs? Okay, seeing none. Let's go ahead and move on to 5C.
Item 5C is approval of amendment number 1 to the Downtown Management and Maintenance Service Agreement between the City of Lincoln and the Downtown Lincoln Association for various management and maintenance services as contemplated under the various downtown businesses improvement districts.
Mr. Ogden, welcome.
Good afternoon. Todd Ogden, President and CEO of Downtown Lincoln Association, 206 South 13th Street, Suite 101.
Very good. Will you tell us a little bit about the amendment we have in front of us?
Yes. So as you know, when you all approved our business improvement district expansion a month or two ago, we also, as a follow-up, have to approve our contract to reflect this expansion. So during the expansion, we talked about how our organization is contracted by the city to operate the bid, and this is just making the contract reflect that expansion.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Ogden? Pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, see none. Thank you, Todd.
Great,
We
thank
appreciate
you.
it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5C? Anyone else here for item 5C? All right, seeing none.
Oh, he faked us out, didn't he?
Let's go ahead and move on to 5D.
Item 5D is approving the interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln and Lancaster County for election drop boxes at library branches.
Todd, welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Wilchin. I'm the Lancaster County Election Commissioner. Before you is the second part of an interlocal agreement between the county and the city. 2 weeks ago, the county board did vote to approve the agreement. The agreement will place 4 drop box for early vote ballots at the 4 libraries in the 4 corners of the city. That would be Gear, Isley, Walt, and the Anderson branch. Before you, I have a little breakdown. Right now, as it stands, we have 1 drop box in Lancaster County for all 200,000 registered voters. That compares drastically with our counties, both larger and smaller than us. Douglas County has 13 drop boxes for their 354,000 registered voters. Sarpy County, with 123,000 voters, they have 7 drop box locations. During the last spring elections, roughly half of all early vote ballots were returned to the 1 drop box we have at the Election Commission office. That was approximately 18,000 ballots. That's a significant number for a drop box, and so we need to correct that. And so what we've done is, in my budget, I included money for the 4 additional drop boxes. The design of the boxes, they will be steel. They are very secure. They're identical to the ones that we have deployed at our current Election Commission office, and it will comply with all state statutes. During an election, voters will be able to deposit their early vote ballot. We will have election staff, a person from each political party, from different political parties, will be retrieving those ballots on a daily basis, which is required by state statute. It will also be documented, and a chain of custody log will be included, just like it is now, for all early vote ballots, and will be available for public inspection, just like it is today. That early vote roster will indicate how those ballots for every voter was returned, and so they're very secure, and when they're not being utilized, the drop boxes will be locked and secured. They will be monitored on a weekly basis by staff to make sure that they don't get damaged. For somehow the doors get unlocked, and library patrons start depositing books in them. So that was something that both the libraries had some concerns about, but they have the ability to be locked when not in use, and they will be. And so with that, I would answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Any questions? Yes, Councilman.
Will there be cameras on top of focused on these boxes?
There will not be. The state statute requires that these drop boxes be affixed permanently to the ground, either in the ground or in concrete, but there is no requirement that they have cameras trained on them, which is, we don't have the cameras trained on the one we have right now. We have cameras deployed throughout the property, but they're not trained on the actual drop box currently.
Are there cameras on the outside of the libraries?
I will defer to Ryan Weber, the Director of Libraries. He can better answer questions about the security on the library facilities.
Good afternoon, Ryan Weber, Director of Lincoln City Libraries, 136 South 14th Street. To answer that question, we do have cameras, but there are no cameras that would point to any of these drop boxes.
Do they focus on the parking lot, or?
We have very minimal camera usage at the libraries. Usually they're located at the front doors, but so 2 of these drop boxes will go in the drive-through lane, and there are no cameras at those locations, one of which is Walt and the other is Isley. And then at Anderson and at Gear branches, those drop boxes are going to be walk up on the sidewalk away from the front door, and currently none of our camera angles reach those boxes.
Other questions, Councilman?
No, thank you.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Councilman Shob.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, gentlemen. Mostly this is for Todd. Do you have a timeline on when we might drive by and see one of these boxes installed?
Well, so by the first of the year is when we'll have them ready, because early voting, the boxes will also be available when we mail out our early vote requests. So people will be able to also return their requests in the drop boxes. And those requests we can start accepting them 120 days prior to an election. We actually mail out the request forms from our office 100 days before an election. But the plan is to have the boxes open in early January.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Councilwoman, yes.
Thank you for bringing this up. When we were in the middle of COVID, it seemed like we had drop boxes at libraries. Did we?
We did.
We did. And how did that work?
Well, so before in the 2020 election, the county had drop boxes at every library location. They were inside the library on a counter, and a ballot box was there. It was retrieved daily. And then we had 2 additional drop boxes at the city offices in Waverly and in Hickman. Following the 2020 election, the law was changed to prohibit that activity. And so now they have to be, like I said, affixed in cement. They have to be secured, and so that's they were removed after that election.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it very much. Is there anyone else here to speak on item 5D? Anyone else here to speak on item 5D? Okay, seeing none. Let's go ahead and move into the voting session.
Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for September 16th through September 30th, 2023, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second. Second, Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes. Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 5B is assessing public health nuisance abatement costs associated with the clearing of public nuisances by the Health Department on the following benefited properties: 240 North 31st Street, 1035 North 40th, 1821 C Street, 2401 North Chester Street, 450 South 25th Street, 825 C Street, 3201 W Street, 3070 Vine Street, 2313 Orchard Street, 1511 South 2nd Street, 111 South 29th Street, 1518 C Street, 2700 North 41st Street, 826 H Street, 1707 North 23rd Street, 6713 Ballard Ave, 520 South 27th Street, 417 North 24th Street, 226 South 27th Street, 4427 Madison Street, 706 Old Cheney Road, 2922 Apple Street, and 4918 Madison Avenue, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Washington. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 5C is approval of amendment number 1 to the Downtown Management and Maintenance Service Agreement between the City of Lincoln and the Downtown Lincoln Association for various management and maintenance services as contemplated under the various downtown businesses improvement districts, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second. Second, Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 5D is approving the interlocal agreement between the City of Lincoln and Lancaster County for election drop boxes at library branches, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second. Second, Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
No.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-1. That concludes section 5 of our agenda. Section 6 is public hearing ordinances, second reading and related resolutions. I'll read item 6A. Change of zone 19031B, application of Mark Hunziker to amend the Chateau at Yankee Hill PUD planned unit development to allow wall signs up to 180 square feet in size within the R3 PUD apartment area on property generally located at South 40th and Yankee Hill Road.
Mr. Hunzinger, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Mark Hunziker appearing on behalf of Chateau Development. This is an amendment to the Chateau PUD to allow for signage on the sides of the multifamily buildings that are being constructed there. If you've been down Yankee Hill Road recently, there's a very large building under construction. I think it probably has somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 units. Of a total of about 850 units that will become part of that project, along with a clubhouse facility that is probably more than 10,000 square feet. I didn't go back and check the exact size, but it will include a pool, an indoor running track, an outdoor deck with a fire pit, and it's really quite an impressive facility. I was out there a couple weeks ago to take a look at it. But the application that I filed was erroneous in the sense that I asked for these signs on the walls of the multifamily buildings to be 180 square feet. I miscalculated in the first place. Everybody who reviewed it in the process prior to the Planning Commission meeting missed the fact that it was miscalculated. Fortunately, Ben Callahan in the Planning Department was sharp enough to catch it and pointed it out, and I've been working with Abby Luttrell in the City Attorney's Office, and she's prepared an amendment that she will bring to you in the form of a substitute motion for next week when you vote on this, to increase the size from 180 to 215 square feet on the large buildings. The conditions include no illuminated signs on the east side of those buildings, which would be facing the residential acreages to the east. The closest part of the large building that you see being constructed is a little over, right at 300 feet from the property line, but nevertheless, we've agreed to no illumination. If we put any signs on the east facade of any of the multifamily buildings, they will not be illuminated. But the likelihood of any of them other than that front building having signs on the east side is very small. We've also asked for signage for the clubhouse, and that would constitute 7 smaller signs, 45 square feet each, to direct people to entrances for the pool, the gymnasium, the office, and have some logo signage also on those facades that face Yankee Hill Road and the commercial area to the west. I think that pretty well covers it. It's a large project. I mean, by the time this is finished and occupied, there will be more people living in this complex than lived in the town I grew up in. So it's a pretty good sized project. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions at this point in time? Okay.
Thank you.
None. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 6A? Anyone else here to speak on item 6A? Any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none. Let's go ahead and move on to 6B. Madam Clerk, I'm declaring a conflict of interest on 6B and will excuse myself. Vice Chair Washington will take over the meeting at this point.
Madam Chair, members of the council.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'll read in item 6B real quick. Item 6B is change of zone 19031C, application of A.W. Granger LLC to amend the Chateau of Yankee Hill PUD Plan Unit Development to allow restaurants on the property generally located at South 40th Street and Yankee Hill Road.
Madam Chair, members of the council, Mark Hunziker appearing on behalf of A.W. Granger. This is an amendment that will allow for restaurants in the O3 zoning that is along South 40th Street and just north of Granger Parkway. It's part of the overall Chateau development PUD, which also includes the commercial development with the car dealership that's now under construction near 40th and Yankee Hill Road. This will be the office district is located north of Granger Parkway across the street from that car dealership. And this would add, as a permitted use, restaurants. Restaurants are special permitted uses in the O3 district, and so this is very much like the same process we would go through for a special permit to get a permit for a restaurant here. The staff has reviewed this and concluded that we are, again, across the street from a PUD to the west, and we have double the setbacks on both the east and the north to protect the abutting residential. And again, I'd try to answer any questions you might have. There's really not much controversy associated with it.
Okay. Are there any questions? Councilors?
Okay.
I have one question.
Okay.
Mr. Hunziker, when the applicant says restaurants, does this preclude fast food, or is this a sit-down restaurant? What's the type of restaurant?
It would include both.
Okay.
Right now, I can tell you that there is no committed restaurateur who is committed to go to this site. The corner, at 40th and Granger, will be occupied by a bank building.
Okay. That has pull-through lanes and things like that. A regular bank.
It will be a regular bank, yes. And again, whether we've had interest from a number of different users, ranging from retail type establishments to office. We've had some interest from an office and a daycare. It's as time has gone on and things have continued to develop in that area, interest has increased, and so we just wanted to be sure we've had some interest from restaurants. We wanted to be sure we were able to actually talk to them about it when they get serious.
Yeah, I am in the city council.
Okay, that's understood. And, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would anyone in the chambers like to testify on this issue? Anyone would like to testify? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, let's proceed. And we won't forget Chair Beckius.
Okay. I'll call items 6C and 6D together. Item 6C is change of zone 23054, application of John Zakovic Revocable Trust to change zone from AG Agriculture District to H3 Highway Commercial District on property generally located at Northwest 48th Street and Highway 34, and the related conditional zoning agreement between the city and John D. Zakovic Revocable Trust for the property generally located at 4801 West US Highway 34.
Is there anyone here to speak on items for 6C and 6D?
Haven't seen you in quite a while, and today's the day.
Like a bad penny.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, I'm Mark Hunziker, appearing on behalf of the John Zakovic Revocable Trust. This is a change of zone that will add to an existing commercial storage area that's located at the intersection of Northwest 48th and Highway 34. The existing facility is full, and there continues to be a great deal of demand, primarily because of its proximity to Branched Oak Lake. We had some discussion with the staff early on about the comprehensive plan, not particularly smiling upon commercial development outside the city limits, and they asked us to whether we'd be willing to be annexed, and the answer was sure if we get sewer and water. And that's problematic. Of course, it's I think the nearest sewer line is a mile away, and water is quite a long distance as well. In addition to that, this property does not abut the city limits, so it creates some legal problems with annexation without annexing other property on the east side of Northwest 48th Street. We approached the owner of the property, who would have been sufficient to make us contiguous with the city limits, about the possibility of annexation. His response was, do I get sewer and water? And the answer, of course, was no. So what we ended up talking about was how do we use this property in the next 20 years while we wait for sewer and water to get out there and annexation to come, without just really wasting the asset. And the answer was, okay, we can agree to an extension of this existing use if we have an agreement that takes care of some key points. And the agreement, I believe, is also attached to your agenda item as a separate item, maybe the next item. It is the next item. And the changes or the restrictions that were agreed to were that this property, the additional H3 zoning, would be used only for storage of vehicles and for mini warehousing, and that the access would not come off of Highway 34, but would only come from Northwest 48th Street, and that we would provide for an access easement along the south side of the property to facilitate additional access from Northwest 48th to the western portion of the site. We've specifically agreed that there would not be, that the language restricting the access is not intended to be a permanent relinquishment of that access. The access actually is an old commercial access that served a dairy farm that was on that site back in the 1920s. So there's been a commercial access to Highway 34 for about 100 years. And when Highway 34 was improved, the state actually built a turn lane, a left turn lane into that access point as part of the improvements that were made, anticipating that at some point it would be a commercial use again. It's already subject to a special permit for a heritage center, which some of you may remember as Grandpa John's pumpkin patch. And so we're not really changing the character of this area. We're not having any adverse effect on any abutting property. We're simply allowing this property owner to make some productive use of this land while awaiting further development and hopefully at some point sewer and water and annexation to develop something a little higher in terms of the commercial use. So if there's any questions on that, I'd try to answer those.
Any questions for Mark? Checking notes?
Yeah, I am. I do have.
Okay,
a question.
Councilwoman, please.
This actually might be a question for staff, though. I write very small, so I think it's a question for staff, because I read through both the reports, and I was really impressed by your client's willingness to sign an agreement with the city for all of those things you mentioned. But thinking 20 years down the line, I am curious about the next phase once this property were to be annexed, what we might need to do. So I was thinking about transportation studies.
Well, that's one of the reasons we have, and I think the agreement actually addresses that to some extent. To the extent it talks about the annex or the relinquishment of access in paragraph 2E, and it basically says that we agree that the access restriction is not intended to reflect relinquishment of access to and from the remaining property currently zoned AG, and terms of access will be reevaluated and permissible access will be addressed by agreement or government action in the future should the property be annexed or undergo a subsequent change of zone. Likewise, the use restrictions are not intended to be permanent, and they will be modified after consideration of the needed improvements to serve additional uses by agreement or government action should the property be annexed or undergo a future change of zone. We understand that at 20 years down the road, this site will have, there's about, I know of one property owner who owns 700 acres of land on the north side of Highway 34 that he would love to develop as residential. So when that infrastructure is available, there will be a lot of rooftops around out there, And this property is likely to have considerable pressure to redevelop into more traditional shopping, retail type of uses at that time. But at this point, my crystal ball isn't that good, and I won't be around to worry about it.
No one's looking forward to that day.
Councilwoman, any other questions?
I have no other questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good. Council, any other questions for Mark or staff? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 6C and 6D? Anyone else here to speak on items 6C or 6D? All right, seeing none, let's move on to 6E.
Item 6E is change of zone 23064, application of PFRE Projects LLC to change the zone from AGR Agriculture District to R3 Residential District on property generally located at 7005 and 7155 South 75th Street.
Mike, welcome.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Mike Eckert with Civil Design Group here in Lincoln, Nebraska. So this is for two parcels you've probably seen in your handout that are just off of 75th Street and Pine Lake Road. As those of you who were on council during the annexation process of this Clarendon Hills land know that this property has all been annexed now. It was one of the larger donut holes surrounded by urban zoning. So our client has a contract with the Elevate Church to build a new church on the north 3 acres, and then they will keep the existing house on the south 3 acres for a parsonage for the pastor. And so the reason they're going to do the church on the north lot is because we can access sewer and water that is in Pine Lake and accessible. And then I think the only thing staff had concern about was the willingness to sign a agreement to not protest any future assessment districts in this area where we're going to need to bring in sewer and water and roads. And so we have agreed to that, and that'll be written up and we'll sign that. And so it's just to change the zone from AGR to R3.
Questions for Mike? Or staff? Any questions for either? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 6E? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to 6F.
Item 6F is change of zone 21020A, application of Hoppy and Sons LLC to amend the south of downtown planned unit development PUD with the addition of sub-area 1 within the PUD to allow up to 9,200 square feet of commercial space and 125 residential dwelling units with associated waivers on property generally located at 1000 South 13th Street.
Andrew, welcome.
Good afternoon. Andrew Willis, 233 South 13th Street, attorney for the developer Hoppy and Son LLC. We've got several people from the development team here today to provide you the full picture of this project. I'm going to kind of give you the overview and what we're doing. Mike Eckert with Civil Design Group can talk more about some of the engineering stuff. We've got Jake Hoppy and Ben Kuntz and Fred's here with just talk about architectural design issues. Some of the engagement, there's been a lot of community engagement on this project, and Karina McCormick with South of Downtown Community Development Organization to talk about their role in this project as well. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm happy to answer any questions, but the people behind me might have the answers to your questions as well, so you can call me back up or however you want to proceed. We're seeking an amendment to the South of Downtown Plan Unit Development to facilitate the project. So the main thing, this PUD was approved in 2021, and it's the entire area. This is the entire PUD area. And what this amendment would do is would create sub-area 1. You'll see that's the black and white line right there. So it's just those it's the smaller area. So when we talk about the waivers and what's going to happen with this sub-area 1, it only applies to this area here, not to the rest of the PUD. The proposed project that would occur in sub-area 1, it's a mixed-use redevelopment project. This is the former Centerpoint site at 1000 South 13th Street, so 13th Street between D and E. approximately 125 affordable housing units, approximately 9,200 square feet of commercial space. That would really be complementary services, so nonprofit medical clinic that would serve that population and really the neighborhood as well. It is really what the goal for that area. The project fits really well within the comprehensive plan and the general intent of the existing PUD. But as we'll talk about, the waiver is what we need to make this project work. The comprehensive plan talks about development of safe, affordable, accessible housing. This is infill, redevelopment of a site, a vacant site that needs renovation. We talk about complete neighborhoods, bringing in both affordable housing and compatible uses, and it's a pretty significant investment in the south of downtown area. The PUD and the zoning regulations, obviously the plan unit development, the purpose of this is to provide a mechanism to permit flexibility in private or public development and redevelopment of areas throughout the city. The zoning regulations provide the PUD for flexibility in these cases where we need to encourage innovation in land use, variety in land in design and layout, and to make projects like this work. The current PUD, again, the existing south of downtown PUD, this, it includes within it these are some of the following are the guiding principles in the existing PUD to facilitate a better balance of uses that fit in the urban scale and predominantly residential character of the neighborhood with the intent of effectively meeting the needs of the residents and business owners alike. Encourage the establishment of pedestrian-oriented community-centric spaces that serve to activate the neighborhood, to support an increase in private reinvestment and innovative development solutions in the neighborhood while maintaining affordable housing options, to encourage affordable housing in the area. So again, we're really trying to hit the existing points. One of the PUD does provide that for more intensive uses that require an amendment just as we're doing now. And so this was kind of the plan, and that's why we're here. I want to go very quickly through the requested waivers, or really will be the key to the sub-area one. Waiver of maximum height to 66 feet from 55 feet. So, and all these, I would note, Planning Department supports all of these waivers, and Planning Commission has recommended approval as well. So really the height, this area, it's you can see part B3 and part R7. So part of the issue here is we're in two different zoning districts, and so we're trying to make this uniform. So that's kind of part one, and to make this work. But as far as increasing that height, this is within blocks of downtown, creating a larger multi-story apartment building, just fits in with that neighborhood in the area. There's a waiver to reduce the lot area per unit to 350 square feet per unit. And again, this is consistent with other affordable housing projects and the waivers that have been approved for similar affordable housing projects in the city of Lincoln. There's a waiver to reduce the parking ratio from 1 parking space to 0.6 stalls per dwelling unit. So there's 125 dwelling units planned. There's proposed 96 parking spaces in garages on the site. And then in addition to that, this project, the goal would be to create 26 additional on-street parking. So those are not dedicated parking stalls, so they don't really count towards that parking, but they are 26 new stalls that will help serve the neighborhood. Part of the issue here, within a project like this is parking is a challenge. There's been a lot of communication and a lot of conversations with the community residents, and this is really trying to find that right mixture. So again, creating the parking stalls, and then adding 26 on-street parking as well. In addition to that, to the actual parking stalls that are being created, again, this waiver would be similar to what's been approved for other affordable housing. This is on a major StarTran bus route. It's got good access for pedestrian and bicycle connectivity. There's a bicycle storage, and it's going to be part of this. So again, there is a concerted effort to address those concerns, and again, we feel this is the best balance of that, and it will work well for this project and the neighborhood. Then there's a couple of setback waivers, reducing the R7 front yard setback from 20 feet to 0 feet, reducing the corner yard setback to 0 feet, and then reducing the R7 side yard setback from 7 feet to 5 feet. Again, this is because we're in two different zoning districts, and they're just trying to make it So the project only has to have one, it's uniform across the entire project. And this is consistent with the higher density infill projects and what would be seen. There's a waiver to eliminate the open space requirement for residential units. And again, obviously that's, part of residential infill development in downtown is, what's the right balance of open space and units and affordable units. One thing that's being done in this is there's a couple of second floor outdoor patio areas that would create some additional open space of a unique kind to make this work. And again, you'll hear more about that in a second. But again, there's been some efforts to address this and try to find a good balance, create some open space on a rooftop patio to make this work and still get the infill project and the units that are needed to make this work. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions now or let everybody else talk, and you can call me up later, however you prefer.
Questions for Mr. Willis? I have one here really quickly, Andrew. I don't know if I misheard. I apologize if that's the case. I thought I heard you say that there were 26 off-street parking stalls to be installed, but the site plan I have in front of me, I'm counting maybe a 19 number.
Is it 19? I'm sorry, it is 19. I said 26,
Okay,
and I was wrong.
very good.
19.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing stalls somewhere else.
Nope.
So, okay,
I apologize.
thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Willis at this time? Councilman?
There were 66 stalls in the garage.
96 in the garages. There's
91.
the numbers have changed since I've looked at this. Yep.
He's not an accountant.
So yeah, all the number questions maybe wait. No, yeah, there's gonna be there's garages in the space with 91 stalls.
And how many living units?
Correct. And then an additional 19 new street parking created. And again, those are not dedicated stalls, but the 91 on-site parking stalls will be for this project specifically.
How many living units?
125.
So you don't have enough parking stalls for the number of living units.
Well, again, this is pretty consistent with what has been approved for affordable housing. We've got, first of all, it's a downtown project or south of downtown project. It's right on the 13th Street bus route. Again, there's a good pedestrian access. There will be some some dedicated bicycle parking area. But again, with a lot of affordable housing projects, the city has granted these waivers for less parking than otherwise would be required.
Other questions, Councilman? Okay. Anyone else has questions for Andrew at this time? Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Council. Mike Eckert, Civil Design Group, 8535 Executive Woods Drive. We'll get into those site civil details in a little more high-level vision here. And as we mentioned at the end of Andrew's presentation, a lot of this has been in flux as we continue to work on the design of the building, as well as work with city staff on the off-street parking stalls. We have multiple lots here on the north side of the alley and multiple on the south that will combine into one. In wanting to do that and create one big lot, we worked with the city on the vacation of the alley here. There is a sanitary sewer main in there that we need to keep. It serves lots of stuff to the east and flows to the west. So we've then worked with city staff on the distance that we need to maintain, because this side of the building will go up and then over and then back down. And we've maintained some clearances that they'd like to ever be able to get in and service that sewer line, as well as then we are going to, with the plat, put a public access easement back over it. So the alley will really continue to function as an alley. This parking area is going to be a wall here and a wall here. So it's just going to look and feel like an alley with a cover, similar to what was done with the Live Red building downtown. And then our client has been gracious enough to say, okay, we will then maintain the rest of that alley that doesn't abut the property, in order to alleviate the city having to get in there and take care of half of an alley. And so yes, with the on-street parking stalls, We originally started out with more stalls that we would like on E and D Street. And through various neighborhood meetings and activity with city staff, it was determined that we should try to limit those to the areas where we abutted. We primarily need those, one, for tenants, but also mainly for if Clinic and Heart with Heart does go here, to have this additional stalls built in these locations, as you can see there. And so we have agreed on the number and the location that's shown. We've agreed on the trees that should remain in this area, and I think we're all conducive to that. So this is going to be kind of a plaza area where food trucks can come in at given times, things can be done, type of festival activities. And what I'll point out on the site plan that the Hoppy team will talk about a little bit more is this is the area above the parking level, first level and second level, where there is a terrace, providing some of those activities for tenants. We also worked diligently to get a garage access there and a garage access there, one off of E, one off of D. And so with that, the only thing I will add is we are working on, despite the 10 waivers we had, there will be an 11th brought to you between now and next week, that we would like to be able to do some awnings in the B3 area, which is this side of the commercial space and this side of the commercial space. And the code basically says they can't encroach into the front yard. We're building to the property line, so we want to get the right to be able to do them out into the right-of-way, just 6 foot out into the right-of-way. And Abby is working on that language, and so we would ask that you support that additional waiver next week with your vote, and I'd be happy to answer any site civil questions you have at this time.
Any questions for Mike at this point? Mike, I have one. So for folks out there paying attention to this, the off-site parking will kind of mirror what's in front of the F Street Rec Center on F Street, or the hub, or the not the hub, the Nebraska Realtors Association parking over there on G Street.
Yeah.
That's functionally what it'll feel like.
Yes, so they're going to be diagonal stalls in the direction of traffic. We're hoping to work out some agreement to have some signage restrictions on those for when the clinic would be in operation, 2-hour parking limit from say 3 to 5 or 3 to 7 p.m. We've worked out the design with city staff, how long they want them, kind of the overhang for signage, and maintaining the drive aisles in D and E as is. But yes, very similar to what those will look like.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I appreciate that, because a lot of the neighborhood content or feedback I'd gotten was in direct correlation to those specific off-site parking. So,
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Mike at this point? Civil site concerns? Okay, very good. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Who's next? Jake. Ben, welcome.
Yeah. We're unveiling the whole show.
The whole team.
The whole team. Jake Hoppy, 301 South 57th Street, Omaha, Nebraska, part of the development team, and really excited to be here today talking about what has been the culmination and what we feel like we've been sort of stewards of this project. Really, it started over 10 years ago. We're really, in some degrees, the newest players at the table with a lot of neighborhood engagement and studies that have been done over the last 10 years, much of which has come before the council. We really started getting involved as some of the ARPA funding was coming out and being made available, and it became clear that this was an incredible opportunity to get the resources to enact something that met the aspirations and the vision of the neighborhood. I don't know how to... I wanted to, you've got it in front of you, but wanted to walk through a couple of things. We were really initially responding to a prompt from the neighborhood about a large-scale project delivering on affordable housing and bringing a supportive set of services into the neighborhood. At the time, it was not exactly clear what that would mean, but being able to do a mixed-use building that hit on both of those elements. Through the ARPA funding process, we got $4 million to focus on the affordable housing side, and then we partnered with Clinic with a Heart to receive $2 million to support them being able to be integrated into the commercial space. So things really fell together nicely. In spite of that, it is sort of a high-level context. there was substantial community engagement around the details of what it meant to bring a, what is a large-scale project. What is the value of being able to integrate Clinic with a Heart? What are some of the concerns and opportunities that the neighborhood saw as the clinic moved from its current location into this much more prominent location in the neighborhood? And so we just wanted to, we have not been a part of such an extensive community engagement process, probably shame on us, but there are learnings here that we are going to take and embed in all of our projects. Some of the things that I thought were really unique to this was, was doing, even before we had architecture to show anyone, doing surveys of the neighborhood about what it would mean to develop on this site and what were some of the priorities and some of the things that were important to the community. So before any of the shaping is done by what the developer might presuppose as being what this would look like, getting a lot of raw data which was collected, outside of the gas station, walking up to neighbors, really authentically getting voices that aren't typically in the feedback process for development. There was a resident advisory board that was created of folks, again, who look a little different than maybe who shows up at your typical neighborhood meeting, people who were renters, people who had a little bit of a different perspective that we were able to engage with. There was a subset of the board itself. Of course, the board is comprised of many folks who live very close to this. Karina will be one of them, the board chair, who lives just a block away from this. A lot of the themes that we ended up responding to is a real desire for affordable housing creation. I think there's always a tension between sort of minimizing the impact to the neighborhood and maximizing the new affordable units that were delivered. We saw some of that play out depending on who the neighbors were. But I think in the end, the preponderance of the weight seemed to be towards delivering more affordable units. That's why you see a little bit of a larger project than initially even had been scoped. A desire for neighborhood supportive services, that was consistent. One thing that I think works well also to the scale of this is the importance of safety and sort of on-site management. By having 125 units, we're able to have a staffing model that will keep people on this site, more than one person at a time on this site. So this kind of idea of a front porch and being able to look out over the streetscape and make sure that everyone's feeling safe walking, even crossing F Street. Some of that element we've addressed in some of this conversation. One of the cool things about the architecture, and we've spent a lot of time in the architecture, is addressing some of the, what the neighborhood identified as opportunities. There isn't a real front porch or gathering space in the neighborhood. A lot of the architecture that Ben will go through was about being able to deliver that, a space that could be programmed, could be used by different neighborhood groups. And then, of course, there's always a tension between an issue of parking, exacerbated, I think, in the south of downtown area, but it was an area that we took a lot of feedback in through this process about, what is the priority between delivering more parking. Certain of our designs showed that, but then also preserving the green space and what can we do to continue to invest in that green space so it's an asset. So I'm really proud of kind of where we ended up. I did want to spend a minute, just because this is a little bit of my area and because Ben approaches it much more from a design perspective, he'll be able to talk more about the architecture, but just the affordable housing programming that we're doing here. So it will be a 4% bond tax credit project. It's very similar to Gatehouse, very similar to South Folsom. You guys will be seeing a bond intent resolution on October 30th, voting on it November 6th. The city will be the issuer. We won't have state tax credit match. That's a small technicality, but we're doing this in a way that enabled us to be sure that we would be able to get the allocation this year so that we are sure we're able to use, or as sure as we can be, that we'll be able to use the ARPA funding in the timeline that the ARPA funding comes in. So we chose a pathway through this that was the least competitive. However, it means that all units are going to be 60% median income or below. The aspiration for the project is to have between some units held aside at 40% median income and the balance serving 60% median income. It's going to be a 45-year affordability period. So it's a very long-term affordable project. City of Lincoln, we're also going through with a redevelopment plan amendment, and we'll be bringing a redevelopment agreement next year after we get the allocation award, similar to how we've done it in the past for TIF. So I just put up kind of what the rents are so that there's some sense of what the affordability means when we think about it. With that, I'm going to turn it. Oh, yeah, one thing the headline rents, of course, are spelled out here, a contracted rent of around $1,000 for a one-bedroom. I think when we've been talking about this in the community, that still seems unattainable to many folks in the community, and we are aware of that and cognizant of that. One of the things that actually is playing out at Gatehouse is we have nearly 60% of the residents at Gatehouse are voucher holders. So in spite of the fact that this is kind of the headline rent, this does not end up being the rent that folks are paying. And I think what we're experiencing here just generally is that voucher holders really have both a preference for safe, quality housing, and also a true lack of opportunities that are source of income non-discriminatory, where they can use the vouchers in this setting. And table state a tax credit project has to accept vouchers, so that's something we would want to do anyway. But this is going to give an avenue for a lot of those voucher holders, in spite of the fact that some of the rents may appear high for the neighborhood. So just comment on that. But here to chat a bit about some of the cooler portions or the visualization of the building, I'll turn it over to Ben.
Ben Kuntz, Hoppy Development, 5631 South 48th Street. So as mentioned previously, this project delivers on 125 affordable apartment homes. We'll provide up to 6,500 square foot of commercial space on the ground floor for Clinic with a Heart. The parking strategy relies on 91 on-site secured ground-level parking stalls, as well as 19 constructed angled and parallel on-street stalls. We believe that this scale is suited to 2 on-site managers. It's something we've heard a lot in the security concerns regarding neighborhood perspectives. And you'll see in the next slide where that's located. One big thing this delivers on is modern accessibility standards in terms of both unit design as well as the incorporation of an elevator, which is not the most common thing in this neighborhood at this time. We're committed to several big design moves. One is that this building is broken into what appears to be 3 buildings. It is in fact 1 building, but we've designed it to appear as up to 3 buildings. Additionally, we're committed to kind of referencing materials from the neighborhood, such as lap siding or brick, very common elements around the neighborhood. We're also committed to providing kind of a platform for public art. In this rendering, you can see kind of a placeholder of these kind of, call them public art vignettes around the building. We hope to proceed with a public art process that delineates what that approach is. So the placeholders there visually is not what it will likely look like in the end in terms of the public art. Additionally, we're still working through kind of fine-tuning what it means to reference the neighborhood context in terms of like what the specific brick color might be, how it gets detailed and applied, same thing for the siding and so forth. Just to call your attention to a few more of the specific features, we're providing for kind of in the front here a public plaza space that could be host to a variety of activities. In addition to that, there'd be some infrastructure off to the side for a mobile vendor, whether that be a food truck or perhaps a mobile health infrastructure partnering with the clinic. In addition, just beyond that, on the corner behind the glass here is proposed as a community room reservable to neighbors that has the potential to spill out onto that patio or that plaza, I mean. Just beyond that is the central building manager's office. That's where we've mentioned this type of scale of building allows us to provide for 2 managers, kind of providing a full-time presence, supervision, and as that may relate to these spaces and their sense of security. Extending off to the right of this image is what we've been calling the linear park. This is some open space adjacent to the building that we have the opportunity to program. You can see some benches and plantings here as a placeholder. We're still working through what activities there might make the most sense for the neighbors, and henceforth what improvements to construct to support those activities. Just above that is the resident roof deck, which is really meant as an outdoor space for residents. And kind of taken all together, we're kind of packaging this and calling it the front porch concept, really trying to make it the front porch of the building of this 125 unit community, and really trying to have something that isn't just for the residents, but is also for the neighbors. 13th Street being kind of a very public place and central to this area. And like I said, so we're still pursuing the specifics of some of these spaces and how they get programmed for activities and what improvements to construct to support them. But we are committed to having these spaces as part of the project. So, thanks.
Any questions for Ben at this point? No, seeing none. Okay, thank you, Ben. Karina, welcome.
Hi, my name is Karina McCormick. I'm president of the South of Downtown Neighborhood Association, which owned this property until 11 days ago. The funny thing is, even though planning was just 2 weeks ago, we were the owner then, and now we're not, because we are so pleased with the process that we did go ahead and follow through on the sale to the Hoppies on the 12th after approving it unanimously at our board meeting at the end of September, because of how well the Hoppies had been engaging with us and addressing our concerns. So I know a lot of you might have memories about the whole H3 process with this area, and there was a lot of disagreement about how to best revitalize the South of Downtown. But the one thing that all of the plans agreed on is that this property was going to be essential to it. That whatever happened with this property was going to shape the redevelopment of South of Downtown. And so when we became aware in 2011 that there was a chance that we could buy it, we did everything we could to seize that, and did buy it and held on to it and made it clear what we wanted from a developer, which was publicly supporting commercial space on the ground floor with affordable housing of mixed levels. And that's exactly what is being proposed. I guess that the particular approvals aren't necessarily only for Clinic with a Heart, but it's my understanding that that's the only way the project would move forward for the most part, I guess. And so we are so thrilled with the idea of having Clinic with the Heart so close right in our neighborhood to offer free housing or free health care, and then pairing that with accessible, affordable, safe, high quality housing that accepts Section 8 vouchers. We funded extensive community engagement over 6 months. We funded for NeighborWorks staff to engage in this with people who actually are in that exact area to hear what they want. And they were very excited about the idea of affordable housing, especially that accepts vouchers, and especially that they could have free health care. There was a resident advisory board that met on an ongoing basis and provided iterative feedback about the various stages of the plan. And this culminated in a public forum on September 6th, and we put up tons of flyers in the neighborhood and also around businesses. What we really were trying to do was get the people who live in the neighborhood to be able to provide their feedback. And so people were really excited about it. The only main concern, aside from parking, is, the affordability, like Jake mentioned. So Jake has committed to, that being like the highest that rents will be. And then we've decided as South of Downtown that we're going to be continuing to engage in the project for additional fundraising, including possibly philanthropic lending with interest rates as they are. That provides additional flexibility in terms of getting the overall project costs down. But we did talk to the Resident Advisory Board, and they were very clear that even if we couldn't get the rent prices down any lower, that they still wanted it to move forward, because just the idea of having nice places with secure parking, secure entry, laundry in the building, things work, the paint isn't peeling off the walls, that accepts Section 8, that was really compelling to people. In terms of the site plan, I led board members on an on-site walkthrough where we talked over the parking. And then the final, like we looked at the actual space, like standing right there, and looked at how it would affect the neighborhood. And so this is pretty consistent with what we came up with on that in-person visit. And then at the end of August, I sent the South of Downtown Community Consensus document to planning and LTU, so they've known that, and so our plans have been pretty consistent. In terms of parking, I know somebody said that's not enough, but the thing is, without being able to park in the alley, with having to keep the alley open, that really limits the configuration of the parking that they can do. And then they also need to have 2 separate entrances to the parking lot, one from each side of the alley without coming into the alley. So we can't increase the number of the enclosed parking. And I would really hate to take from a family the opportunity to live in this building by reducing the number of units just because we can't give another parking spot down there. I've always parked on the street in this neighborhood. Oh, I forgot to say, I live at 1502E, which is just a little bit over. So this is what I see out my window every day. So I'm quite familiar with it. I'm just looking through my notes. It looks like I've covered everything, but just the fact that it would accept Section 8 and also be handicap accessible, that we're working on trying to get additional income levels. For example, some units at like the 50% AMI tier, if we can get that, either donations or philanthropic lending. And the Hoppies have committed to working with us on that. So we're just really excited, especially to partner with Clinic with a Heart to provide something that this neighborhood so clearly needs and has been well documented in so many strategic plans. So thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Any questions at this point? I'm going to ask a quick question because I have you both up here at the podium, so it's very convenient. So I want to get an understanding and make sure that residents have an understanding of the mass and the scale of this project. The Centerpoint site, or what I'm going to call the Centerpoint site, offers an opportunity, unlike a lot of areas in the south of downtown area, to do a larger building here. But this is, in terms of size and scale, very different than what we find in the rest of south of downtown. And I just want to make sure, by the way, it's not a problem for me, but I just want to make sure that you feel like residents understand how this will look and feel when it's constructed.
Yeah, at the forum and at the Resident Advisory Board meetings, they had the mock-ups and everything, and I was actually kind of surprised. Like, not a single person said, like, "Oh my God, that looks way too tall." I think people are just, I mean, I didn't hear anyone say that. I think people are just excited to get affordable housing, and also the fact that they can get that many units but make it not look like some of these like monstrous cubes we see downtown, like make it, I think the design helps a lot in contrast in combating effects we might have of the height.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. And Ben, I look forward to your nods and references to the existing neighborhood around it. Very good. Any other questions at all? Okay, seeing none, thank you both very much. Appreciate it. Uh-oh. Hi, Fred.
I'm Fred Hoppy. I live at 1600 Stony Hill Road, Lincoln, Nebraska. Hey, I just want to say, first of all, I want to focus you back on what we're doing today, which is amending the PUD.
Yep.
And we have to amend the PUD to move the project forward the way it's designed and explained by everybody. So, and in that, when we talk about affordable housing, I want to tell you, the Hoppy team has been working on this project for 18, 20 months, I suppose. Started way last year, talking to south of downtown. When they started talking, it was right around the time Barb Bartle was leaving the Lincoln Community Foundation. And it was a discussion where south of downtown was talking about how can we move forward with affordable housing in this neighborhood. And they were looking for developers that would, and experienced in putting in essentially low-income housing. And initially they picked us to do it, and we've been working with the south of downtown ever since to put it together. But what we're good at, and probably Jake more than anybody, and Ben with design, but it's a physical exercise, developing affordable housing. You got to get the project to fit the money you can raise to build it, and the rents and everything else. It's extremely complicated. And in this case, we wanted to work because we like to make projects that fit into a neighborhood and work a neighborhood and make a neighborhood proud. And that meant we worked with the neighborhood to do that. But frequently neighborhoods want more than they can pay for, which, and I don't mean that, they want things that are expensive. So it was putting together all of this program, putting together the project we developed, was a real balancing act between having enough scale so that we could get a bond deal put together and build the project and provide the different things that the neighborhood wanted, including a design that makes the building look like 3 buildings, not 1. And so I want to say, you know, we need the changes so that we can build those units in 1 building, and we can take it to the walls, take it to the edge of the property, and those kinds of things in the long run. But recognize we're going to be back for some other things, obviously. But the reality is this was an extremely complicated project, and it started, the vision of it started when we made grant applications for ARPA funds last year. And the one, so you know, is in the name of Clinic with the Heart. So they're going to be the first tenant on that first floor no matter what, because they're funding the build out of their own space. All right, so that's that. Last, I want to thank the staff for working with us, city staff working with us, and south of downtown working with us to get this all put in place to where we are now. And we appreciate that. So I'd answer any questions.
Questions
too.
for Fred?
Most of them I'll refer to one of my staff, or my partner.
I think we're question-free, Fred, so
Huh?
we're good.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 6F? Anyone else here to speak on item 6F? Anyone? Yep, anyone from the public can come up and speak at this point in time. You're welcome to. Hi. If you would just please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I am Jess Giesecke, 1200 South 20th Street, Lincoln, Nebraska, 68502. I apologize. I've been doing dirt work all day, and I'm coming to you in the middle of my work day and heading right back there after I'm done. So I am actually on the South of Downtown CDO board, and I am actually coming to you as not just a board member, but also as a resident of the Near South. I live about 7 blocks east of this proposed development. And I actually am down in that area daily. I do some work in that area. I do snow removal during the wintertime, and I do some landscaping projects and some historic restoration projects and stuff like that during the summer and the nicer months out of the year. And I also frequently walk from my house down to that area to go to El Chaparro for dinner, and then I spend a lot of time there. It's kind of like my second home, and in that time that I spend down there, I have an opportunity to engage with a lot of residents. A lot of times people like to keep me company while I'm putting plants in or shoveling snow, and I hear a lot about the housing in that area, and I realize that it's a dense area. We already have what would be considered affordable housing, but a common theme is there's a lack of safe, clean, affordable housing. I've had people tell me that, and this is in the hottest days of the summer, that their air conditioning is broken, and they are afraid to talk to their landlord about it because their property was recently purchased by an investor, and they're worried if they mention the air conditioning that they're going to see an increase in rent. The fact that this project has a 45-year commitment to affordability makes me feel a lot more comfortable knowing that somebody can get their air conditioning fixed, not that they'll need to in a new building, but that they can request that without having to worry about being given a 30-day notice to terminate or being, seeing an increase in rent. I have spoken to residents that are unhoused, and the reason that they're unhoused is because they can't find somebody to take their housing voucher. They have, there's all these rentals in that area, but finding a landlord who will accept a Section 8 voucher is tough. They have been, they said, well, I can move out to the lodge, but I'm not close to, the things that I need. I'm not close to the things in this neighborhood. I'm not close to my child's school or the services in the downtown area that I need to access. So this is going to provide that. The parking, I actually don't think that the parking is an issue. I speak to a lot of people that don't even drive vehicles. I actually am one of the people that tends to walk down there and not drive myself, and I'm actually somebody who puts more miles on my feet during a day than I do in my car in a year. So I think that parking is a challenge that we can definitely overcome. I understand that there might be some concern about the setbacks, but I feel like the Hoppies are very committed to working with the South of Downtown to see how we can improve green spaces and get more resident feedback on the linear park that they have designed and or that they're in the process of designing. And in showing these designs to current residents that live down there, I've been keeping them in my car, and ever since we did the public engagement event in early September, I've been sharing them with people, and I'm not getting negative feedback from residents. I live in a historic district, like I said, about 7 blocks east, and I'm getting really positive feedback from my neighbors. The design, I think, is good. There's always room for improvements. We can hammer out design details later, but I feel like it's appropriate for the neighborhood. There's not really a standard style. If you look around at the housing, you've got everything from like the late 1800s, up to more modern looking buildings. And so I think this fits right in. And I just think it's a great project. I've looked over what the zoning, changes, the changes to the PUD are, And as a resident of the Near South and somebody who spends a lot of time down there, and as somebody who, feels comfortable just kind of sharing some of the stories of residents, I'm really comfortable with this project. I'm excited about it. And I think you could put 150 to 175 units in and you'd have them filled, so.
Thank you very much. Any questions for our testifiers? Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify on item 6F? Welcome.
Yeah, so I'm pleased with this project.
Can you start with your name and address for us?
Colby Woodson, 640 South 12th. Yeah, I'm a proponent of this project. I think it's a good project. I was born out at St. Elizabeth's, and shortly thereafter I lived at 9th and E. It's been a life spent as a child and adult as a renter in the Everett neighborhood and the Near South neighborhood. I could go through all the intersections that the various apartments have been at, but that would take a really long time. Previously, with other imaginings of what could happen in the area, it seemed like the intention was more so to make it a place that people commute to maybe eat or drink. And I've always known it to be a place where people live. So I'm kind of invested in the notion that it continue to be a place where people live. And this is a place where people live. I think that's a really good thing.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify on item 6F? Anyone else for 6F? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to 6G.
Item 6G is text amendment 23013, request of the Director of Planning Department to amend the Lincoln Municipal Code by amending Section 4.36.030, duties and powers, Section 4.36.050, meetings, rules, and notice of public hearings, and Section 4.36.070, appeals to add accessory dwelling design standards to the Urban Design Committee's duties to act as the appeals board for appeals concerning accessory dwelling design standards, by adding a new section numbered 4.36.080 entitled Jurisdiction of the Committee Relative to Other Boards, by amending Section 27.56.040 Nebraska Capital Environments Commission, created to change the ex officio non-voting members from 3 to 4, by amending Section 27.57.110 Powers and Duties to add that the Historic Preservation Commission makes recommendations to the mayor, city council, planning commission, city boards, and city departments on matters relating to historic preservation, by amending Section 27.57.180, appeal to change the appeal period from 30 days to 14 days, and by adding a new section number 27.57.190 entitled Jurisdiction of the Commission Relative to Other Boards.
Director Carey, Mr. Barnes, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, City Council members. David Carey, Director of the Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street, and I also have
Paul Barnes, Manager of Long Range Planning, 555 South 10th Street.
We are here, pleased to be here this afternoon. Thank you for some time to talk about this text amendment. This is dealing with our design review board. So this is the Urban Design Committee, the Historic Preservation Commission, and the Nebraska Capital Environments Commission. All these design review boards are housed in the planning department, so we staff these. But we do have a lot of various different types of applications and different types of projects and different locations, obviously. And the purpose of this text amendment that is proposed before you, that was approved by the Planning Commission 9-0, is to bring clarity and some more direction on how best to bring these applications forward and which boards to go to and which boards have kind of the directing position to be taken, so that there's clarity both on the private sector side for the applicants and then also for city staff to make sure that the process is clear. We had a few different examples over the last couple years where there was some confusion in the process where we ended up getting to an okay spot in the end, but this will help us be a more efficient and more clear process for certain types of applications. And I will certainly hand it off to Paul with any more detailed comments on that, and we're certainly available for any questions you might have.
Yeah, I'll just add that we've been working on this for quite some time. It's not only considered somewhat of a cleanup item, it's to catch up with the existing process and what our staff are doing in the community with these design review boards, but also it's to clearly state in code that process. And so, as Director Carey said, to make sure that everyone's aware of that. Each one of these design review boards does have specific tasks, and there's overlapping when it comes to things like tax increment finance projects or redevelopment projects, where you may be in or adjacent to a historic district. We'd like to engage the Historic Preservation Commission as well as Urban Design Committee. So I think this is just a nice amendment. It's good planning, it's clear and transparent, and with that, I can answer any detailed questions you have, if there are any.
All right, very good. Thank you both. Questions for Director Carey and Mr. Barnes? Yes, Councilwoman, please.
I would comment, I realize microphone. I realized I could hold my comments until next week, but I wanted to just say that when I initially looked at it, I thought, oh, this is going to be confusing, and it actually was not. There's a lot of words on the agenda for describing what this is, but when I really got into the guts of it, I really appreciated the cleanup nature of it, clarifying roles and responsibilities.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item? Anyone else here to speak on item 6G that would like to comment on item 6G? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, let's move on.
Move on to Section 7, Ordinances, third reading and related resolutions. Item 7A is amending the pay schedule for the employee group whose classifications are assigned to the pay range prefixed by the letter A by creating the classification Information Technology Security Specialist, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Carlson?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 7B is amending the pay schedule for employee group whose classification is assigned to the pay range, which is prefixed by the letter C by changing the range for Class 5339 Utility Supervisor from C28 to C32, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Schob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 7C, amending the pay schedule for employee group whose classification is assigned to the pay range, which is prefixed by the letter A, by changing the range for Class 5511 Park Horticulturist from A10 to A11, Class 5601 Bus Operations Superintendent from A13 to A14, and 5605 Bus Maintenance Superintendent from A13 to A14, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Duden?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 7D is amending the pay schedule for the employee group whose classification is assigned to the pay range, which is prefixed by the letter C, by changing the title and the pay range from Class 5010 Labor Supervisor 1 in pay range C26 to Labor Supervisor in pay range C30, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Carlson, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. That concludes Section 7. Section 8 is resolutions. First readings are items 8A through 8D. And pending list is Section 9, item 9A.
I'll entertain a motion.
I believe now would be a good time to call for an adjournment.
Great idea. I second the motion.
Second, Show, please call the roll.
Duden?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried.
We are
7-0.
adjourned.